You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Great to be with you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network in the world. Your team every day, always free and available on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. And thanks as always for making us your first listen. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. And right now, new customers can bet only $5. And if your bet hits, you're getting $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So download the FanDuel app today. With the only Chris Level, I'm Casey Cowan. Chris, great to be back with you once again. And on today's episode, I want to catch up with you on things shaken with Red Raider hoops over the last week. I know we've been hyper-focused for good reason on what Joey McGuire and the Red Raiders have going on, but things obviously got more interesting last week for Grant McCasland and company for a variety of reasons. So we'll catch up on what's been going down there and looking ahead to what is upcoming this week for Texas Tech basketball. From a football perspective, I want to spend some time today focused in on an area that's going to be a lot of fun to focus in on because it's been fantastic, and that's the Texas Tech offensive backfield, primarily your ball carriers. We know the story, Quentin Joyner, and that injury sort of derails plan A before we really even get started. And here comes opportunity for Cameron Dickey and Jacoby Williams. Two young guys I think there was a heck of a lot of excitement about. I was really excited about Cameron Dickey, like many others, during his freshman season as we began, but we saw opportunities wane as the year went along, some of that injury-related and otherwise. Jacoby Williams' opportunities grew, and he certainly looked dynamic, but wondered about what he would do with a bigger role. So all of that combines to lead up to 2025. Skip to the end. Aces. These boys are cooking, and they've been doing it really all year long, Chris. You've got the Big 12's leading rusher in Cameron Dickey, who should be a 1,000-yard rusher. He's about 60 or so shy of that, now ahead of your regular season finale. You got Jacoby Williams, who's the #1 all-purpose guy in the Big 12 Conference, not just a ball carrier or pass catcher, return man as well. We'll get to that in just a moment. You're talking nationally. Top 5 rusher in Cameron Dickey among Power 4 running backs. You're talking nationally, a top 10 guy for Jacoby Williams, all-purpose yardage. So this is a special, special year when it comes to the running backs. I want to celebrate what they're doing now. I do want to look ahead a bit as well, though, Chris, because Quentin Joyner's name's still a very intriguing one, and I know we're all thinking about how this is going to play out, and why not just slot him in, and then we get to cooking on a whole nother level. It's not always that easy, though, to manage rosters from season to season. So how have you been enjoying what we've seen so far from these guys? And I know it's rolling around in your mind as well, how this could play into what that picture looks like in the future.
When Joyner went down, our conversations were a bit like, okay, but, like just kind of – there's some hope there. There was some like, okay, like the two players that you're that are going to get the bulk of the carries, and Joey said as much. But I can even tell you that they weren't. I mean, you see the potential. The talent, the experience was not there, and you're hopeful, and you just. Because it kind of wasn't just about them, but it was about the O-line too, right? And you're just not sure how that aspect was. And you're trying to replace Taj Brooks. Has this not been just better than anybody could have imagined? And I'll tell you who deserves a ton of credit here. Well, there's a couple of guys. Cam deserves a tremendous amount of credit, and so does Jacoby. I think that the Garrett McGuire deserves a big pat on the back here, because remember early on when beginning of the season, and it was like, okay. And then all of a sudden about a week or two in, and now this has become the norm. Now let's look at how patient these runners are, how they wait for things to open up. They bounce it outside when it's supposed to. They bounce it up inside when they're supposed to. They, for the most part, get the explosive runs, but they also get the tough ones, and it's been pretty consistent. Yes, you've had a bit of an ankle injury with Jacoby, so it's limited him in some instances. And I'm not saying that Cam and Jacoby are perfect or that Garrett's, but Josh Cochran deserves a lot of credit. I think that it was pretty evident when Terrence Carter wasn't involved in playing and wasn't involved in the run game, if you will, but he coaches those tight ends and helps with the schemes and things like that. And then Clay's group, I just think, has gotten better. Clay McGuire's offensive line group. So it has really been but I mean, I don't know if enough people realize what you just, stated earlier about where Cam Dickey's going to be an 1,000-yard rusher. It's going to happen.
Elite.
Yeah. And Jacoby in this change of pace type scenario is one of the most explosive, versatile players really in the conference, period. What can he not do? And we've seen him more in the, but I'll tell you what is interesting. I think I'm going to just connect some dots here. You notice starting to see Jacoby out there as a returner a bit more now?
I did notice that, and not just on the kickoff. We saw him in the punt game Saturday.
I think you're ramping it up and you're preparing for the bigger stages here. This is because, I would say he's easily one of the best in the Big 12, and I think he could hang with some of the best returners in the country as far as that aspect of what he's doing. He just is an all-important player for you because of all the things that he can do for you and because he can change a game. It's not lost on me how much fun we've had watching him play, but that play in Utah set the tone. That play in Utah, it set the tone. We're here. We mean business. We know about your crowd and your setting, and we know about your defense. And he just, and that kind of took the edge off of everybody and all those things. But we've just seen that so much. And then like the returns that he's had, flipping the field on kickoffs or punts, whatever it is, it's been a lot of fun. But these two dudes, and the scary thing is, Calvin, I don't want to get ahead of myself because I'm rambling, but the crazy thing is this backfield next year, it has a chance to be really special.
Well, how do we begin to sort of project slotting that in? Because I know how I'd like to just line it up if I had my sort of fantasy roster building choosing and druthers. But, sometimes real life or timetables or eligibility or egos or what allergies can get in the way of these things. So is it that easy to slot in again somebody like Quentin Joyner and just add to this recipe? Or
so Quentin got hurt in August, and we'll see what this looks like, because I'm going to dare to dream a bit. The good news is for him is that it was only the ACL. It wasn't a total, and so that shortens the recovery time. So, August, in 26 would be a full 12 months. I don't know how much he'll be able to do, if anything, in the spring or parts of the summer, but let's just say that, and maybe I'm being too optimistic. But if he can give you much, if he can give you anything close to what he has, you're just really in a good spot. But the other guy, because he's Quentin Joyner as a football player is really good. I'm just like, and he breaks the tackles. He had some speed, and we'll just have to see what the recovery looks like. He's been on the sideline at these games. He's been around. I think the absolute plan is that he will be back next year and all those things. The other player that I think is fascinating is Ace Rowden.
First, today's episode brought to you by FanDuel, and football is in full force, and FanDuel's keeping you stocked with action every game day with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet only $5, and if your bet hits, you're getting $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. Any way you like it, FanDuel has you covered. Quick, easy, and secure every time. If you're ready to play, download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet.
The other player that I think is fascinating is Ace Rowden, your signee that I believe will be here in January. He's a measurables guy. He's a speed guy. He's somebody that when he committed, UT, Texas came after him and everybody's offering him and coming after him, and he has stayed firm. And he's an East Texas boy with legit speed and legit size to go with it. And so it's just going to look much different here. And if you get any semblance of Quentin or Ace can help you immediately, and what a great name. I mean, what a great name. Than Ace Rowden. But it's like a Western or something like, hey, man, Ace Rowden's coming to town. Oh, man, look out. I better get out of town then. But this allows you to potentially move Adam Hill and Oliver Miles back to where it would help you. But the key point is you may get what we all would have liked to have had all year is Jacoby being allowed to be this Travis Hunter, this player that just can provide a variety of roles and juice to all of them and not have to put him in stressful situations where it's just like and then you could, theoretically you can start getting into 12 personnel a lot more, or 22 personnel a lot more, depending on what you add via the portal and the tight end room, which essentially is one tight end, two backs, or two tight ends, two backs, all those kinds of things. Because I think you've been semi-reluctant to do that right there just because the lack of depth and the lack of experience and all that stuff. So if you get some semblance of Quentin's past and he is similar to what – and all that, and Ace comes in and acclimates quickly, this could be one of the strengths of your entire football team. And
I'm glad you led there, because I wanted to ask offensively, there's no way around it being probably the thing we'll feel the best about most of the offseason. I don't know what the portal is going to bring to the pass catchers or your QB room. I've got high hopes. I'm dreaming big for that as well, Chris, but this is going to be a much different offseason combo about this group compared to last, right? I think it'll be feeling like it's the tip of your offensive spear, so to speak.
Yeah, and the question will just be like, okay, what level is Quentin at right now? Like, is this 70% of him? Is he back to 100%? Is he better than he was before? I mean, because different guys come back from that stuff differently and quicker or later or sooner. You just don't know what it'll all look like. But that'll be the only question we have about it, really. And then how much realistically can Ace Rowden help you immediately? But he's going to be here, I think, the whole spring, and that is, and you'd have to think he's better than what Adam and Oliver have been, and maybe even Michael Henderson. So because you were just. You're kind of scrambling for some depth. You want some speed and athleticism, and it's just a bit of a tricky spot that you got put into here. Because we remember the name that we wondered about was you had a running back here last year that was dinged up, and he never really acclimated, and then he's now no longer part of the program. And we wondered if you would go add a fourth running back in the late portal just to cover yourself because of exactly what we're talking about here. And you didn't go add that that fourth running back. So you've had to supplement from within.
Had to deal with obviously a derailment of your initial plans, but then you wind up with one of the most impactful seasons from your running back room that you've had in quite some time. I guess the other question I do have, Chris, and I don't know. This is, I think, maybe still the biggest question. There are enough touches for these guys? There are enough plays for these guys? There are enough NIL running back dollars for these guys? Is everybody going to be able to slot in with a fair share of the pie? I mean, you've had two guys that went out and earned a lot of their pie. And I know Jacoby is not always, slotted only as a running back, but how do you work in, literally in the realm of however many offensive plays we're accustomed to, three guys that are pretty dynamic and probably like other running backs needing to really spend some time out there to get in a rhythm, get going.
Yeah, I think it's a fair question to ask aloud. I don't think there's any issues there at all. I'm not saying that there won't be any issues like this at certain spots or with certain people, but with what you're asking me here, I don't envision any sort of problem, and I certainly don't envision a problem about, man, I'm not getting enough touches and all that stuff. Because again, Jacoby doesn't need a ton to make his presence felt, and he can do a variety of other things. But and this, the beautiful thing is about Cam and Jacoby is their presence allows Quentin to come along at the pace that he needs to. It's not like, hey man, like this is not good. We got to have it right now. No, I mean, so it all could work very well from that standpoint. And Rowden can come in and like play his 4 games and redshirt or help right away if needed, and there's an injury or something like that. So you're just, again, best laid plans sometimes don't come true for you and don't come through like you want them to, but you would seemingly be in a pretty good spot going into next year in the backfield. And two, I will be curious because I think they're linked. I will be curious what you'd add from a tight end standpoint in the portal, because you will will add either 1 or 2. We'll talk later in the week about that position. I think there's some things we probably need to discuss there about tight end in general. But yeah, I think what they bring in factors into the run game as well. It just does.
No doubt. Yeah, and I'd like to just look at some recent tight end additions, maybe a picture of Jalen Conyers, a picture of Terrence Carter, just show them to the recruiting guys. Say, get more of these. I will take more of these wherever you can find them and however long they can stay. I think it's interesting to think about how quickly things can change from that running back hierarchy perspective, Chris, because, and it may not be so much of that internally, I don't know, but I know going into it, we talked a lot about like this order of Joyner, Dickey, and then Williams used in a variety of ways, and can't imagine, that remaining the same as soon as, say, Joyner is healthy again. And I know he's got that ramp-up timeline to consider as well, but these are guys with skins on the wall now that we're coming into another season with next year, and hopefully they're still set to collect their biggest skins in the biggest moments that are out there, man. But thank you, Jacoby Williams. Thank you, Cameron Dickey, and all others already mentioned and shouted out by Chris Level for contributing to this effort, because there was a lot of trepidation following the Joyner news. How could there not be? But, man, it's been fantastic and need a lot more of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I just I'm not trying. I just am hopeful that people get to see the real version of Quentin Joyner, like with what he potentially could have been. And you just don't know. And maybe that's not till July when we see it. Maybe it's not till October when we see it, but or maybe it's not till 2027. I don't know, but I just hope that there's a glimpse of that there, because if so, you're going to be a problem, and like the Cameron Valdez, who I was referring to earlier, he just never could stay healthy, and he just would never, and I remember 2 years ago, we were like, man, he's going to be a key player for you. He's behind Taj, and it's like going to be a key player. And then it's all of a sudden like Jacoby and Cam Dickey rolling here, and it's like Cameron Valdez just never got healthy, and he's just, I think, out of the sport totally. But that's how it happens. So anyway, but it's fun to talk about that spot. But man, Cam, 1,000 yards, anybody's taken that over the year, and like Jacoby, I mean, with what he's done, it's just he's one of the most exciting players in the Big 12 Conference, regardless of position.
I'm saying the nation, man. I mean, seriously, you tell me where else you're finding a lot of guys that do what Jacoby Williams does. Literally, I think I said top 10 earlier, but he's number 11 nationally when it comes to all-purpose yards. among Power 5 Power 4 producers. Sorry, Pac-12. Forget you're gone sometime. Chris, before we get out of here, can we change gears here and hit the hardwood for a moment? I know we've still got some time until the next tip-off, but I feel like there's a whole lot that went down that we haven't quite gotten to really catch up on just over the last week. We've been so football focused, but obviously we already spent some time talking about the go-round with Illinois there on the road, but then the Red Raiders return back home. And not only in addition to some interesting things playing out within the game, maybe some teaching points and motivational tools available from that game for Coach McCaslin, but we saw the debut of Luke Bamboye as a Red Raider. So I just wanted to spend a little time with you on a basketball front before we get out of here to see what's shaking and sort of how you feel like the last week has been processed. When we most recently heard from Coach McCaslin, he sounded like a very motivated Coach McCaslin to maybe improve the situation before the next tip. What are you making of it all?
So, this past weekend was kind of a blur. That was back-to-back Friday nights and then back-to-back Saturday football games. It's like the weird turnaround and everything's on top of each other. And so we have spent a lot of time talking about the UCF game and rightfully so. But there was a basketball game on Friday night against Milwaukee. Milwaukee was picked to win the Horizon. It's actually a very good team. They actually come in here. They came into Lubbock and played on a Friday night, and they had just played in Bloomington, Indiana against the Hoosiers on Wednesday night. So basically no time to prepare, and they came in and largely punched you in the mouth for the first 5 to 10 minutes, and it frustrated the head coach of the Red Raiders greatly. I think you had obviously had a tough loss on Tuesday night in Champaign, but I think Grant's common theme was after the game was this isn't good enough. This isn't acceptable. This isn't good enough. And part of it, in his defense, this is just part of what you're going to have to work through, man, is you mentioned Luke Bamboye that makes his debut. He's, I think, practiced with Christian Anderson all of 3 times because of Christian being gone, playing for Germany, or Luke being hurt, or just whatever. It's just been a bit of this is the reality that you're dealing with here. And so this is going to be a process. It's going to be frustrating, I think, some nights. Fortunately, this night was a night where you won by 17 and you were frustrated. But this was a grind. You pulled away at the end because Christian Anderson just said, I'm taking over and I'm going to steal it. I'm going to go dunk it. I'm going to get to the free throw line. I'm going to knock down some threes, and we're putting this one to bed. But it took a while. But Milwaukee they were very active. They had some shot makers. They had several times down the floor where they could have hit a three that would have made this very interesting. But it's a big week for old Texas Tech basketball going to the Bahamas, because you just don't want to be that team that comes away being 0-2, and Memphis isn't very good. But Wake Forest is not going to be a pushover, and if you win that one, you're going to be staring at arguably the number 1 team in the country and one of the best players in the country, in Braden Smith. So it's you're just trying to mesh this thing together really quickly, and it's just difficult. There's just not a lot of opportunity to practice, but that's what you're going to be tasked to do.
Yeah, and I mean, we know the talent's there. I think we've seen some of these pieces really look kind of as advertised and excited about a lot of that, but you got to bring them together as a team, which is something I have the utmost confidence in Coach McCaslin's ability to do so, Chris. But these tests that are a part of your non-conference schedule this time around that are not a part of it just about every time around are making this feel a little bit differently, So I think there's plenty of patience there for me as a Tech basketball fan because of what we've seen from Coach McCaslin before, and just kind of being used to this process for a number of years now with the way college basketball has gone, in that you're typically trying to meld together several new faces and new names. But it's not always that you've got top 15 on the road second week of the season, potentially number 1 a couple weeks later or a week later in the Bahamas, Duke, Madison Square Garden. Do I need to keep rolling this off? Let's take it 1 week at a time. But just makes it feel a little bit different. I guess what I'm telling myself, and I'm here to win the games. I'm here to go get wins. All right. So this is not some type of resigned to a fact statement, but I think it's a true statement. everything you need is available for the taking in the Big 12 Conference, so I'm certainly not freaking out about coming up short in these matchups, but boy, what a boost to any resume if you really wanted to think like elite-wise seeding when it comes postseason time, if you could capture some of these wins. So maybe we'll get over the hump here sooner rather than later, but good grief, they should be great and to the benefit as far as teaching tools and opportunities to get better for this team as we look ahead to the Big 12.
Yeah, I mean, 1-1 this week is very realistic. You just don't want to be the 0-2 guy because somebody will come out of there 0-2, and if you're 2-0, man, you have accomplished a lot just because Purdue's there. I mean and them beating Alabama and Tuscaloosa last week. I mean, by like 9. I think Alabama's ranked really high, and so this is going to be a really difficult Purdue team. And if you get the right to face them, but Wake Forest is going to be tricky, I think for you to kind of maneuver through, and that's a 20+ win team. Last year they've only got one loss. This year I think it's a 1-point loss in overtime to top 10 ranked Michigan. So their best player's first name is Juke. I mean, so buckle up, boys. Yeah, buckle up. Yeah, Coach Forbes has done a really good job. He's been there about 4 or 5 years, and but I'm glad that Luke Bamboye is back. You can now get a feel for what it really looks like in your rotations and your starters, because he was a bit winded. You could tell the chemistry is just not there yet. But the one thing you can't teach that really JT can do some of this for you, but the 4 block shots from Bamboye is yeah, I inject that right into my veins, because how many others did he alter or did he discourage from even being taken? That's the thing. So
yeah, those arms ain't going to get shorter. So that's something that'll stick around, and hopefully he'll get more comfortable and in better shape, like you're saying, as he makes his return. And I got to see Wake Forest and Michigan the other night, Chris, and I'm thinking as a Tech fan, oh yeah, I guess I better remind myself they're in the Bahamas, and that's actually who you're getting guaranteed. I've been thinking so much about Purdue or some potential date with the Boilermakers, but Demon Deacon problems there to be dealt with first. So looking forward to all of the above, man, and so early on in this season. And like I said, some of the talent and the new pieces, I mean, Lawan Watts and some others, it's been fun to see. Jalen Petty, it's been fun to see very, very early on. But
JP, man, he's starting to. I mean, we kind of try to lay the groundwork here, but you're starting to see some of that juice and some of that athleticism. He's just got to let the game come to him a little bit. I think sometimes he kind of is forcing it. He's just trying to figure out the right balance here on, and things like that. But the athleticism and the playmaking is special.
He's going hard all the time, it seems like. And there's probably a portion of that where he can let some things come to him and he'll figure that out. But yeah, you're definitely talking noticeable when you're talking Jalen Petty so far this season. And you were telling us about him this offseason, so not surprised by that. And you're not either if you're tuned in to Locked On Texas Tech. Good on you for being informed all the time. Chris, appreciate you for keeping me informed and for the time once again. Enjoyed it as always, my man, and we'll see you for the next one.
A lot going on, man. Calvin and I, man, behind the scenes, we're like we're that duck on the pond, man, paddling like crazy, man. But everything's smooth on the surface. Everything's smooth on the surface. But giddy up. We'll talk to everybody next time. Hope is indeed alive, people.
I'm glad you're keeping it smooth on the surface. I feel myself splashing around a little bit. I think they can see me flailing, but we're doing our best. Get subscribed on YouTube.
We're splashing like crazy, man.
Yeah, or anywhere you can get podcasts, so you never miss an episode. And of course, thanks to the everydayers for always riding along, and our beloved Matador Mob. Hit the show notes and find a link to a free 14-day trial. It's your direct line to Chris and myself with one-on-one text sent straight to your phone. For Chris, I'm Casey. Thanks as always for the time. We hope to see you back for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech.